Last weekend was the Summerton Whisky Club's annual Whisky Festival, and this time I took a camera. Welcome back, Dram Fam, to the Whisky Diary. Those of you that have watched this channel for any amount of time will know that I'm a member of the Summerton Whisky Club. It is a membership I pay for. I'm not gifted it or anything like that. It comes out of my own pocket. Essentially, it's £25 a month, or more specifically £50 every 2 months, and you get sent a bottle of whiskey. It's usually something bit weird, bit different. The last few bottles I've reviewed on this channel, you can go back and check those out. In fact, I'll put links to those in the description. They are, in my opinion, very much worth the money. So every year, they hold a whisky festival, which is pretty cool. It's in St Albans, a town where I used to live, obviously down in England. And I thought this year it'd be really cool to travel down, as I know a lot of people now that are other members, and there's a fantastic community surrounding it. So I hopped on a plane and I travelled down to St Albans. I really don't mind the flight. We did it quite a lot when we were flying backwards and forwards looking to move up here. I'd say the only downside is you used to be able to hit the duty free, which was absolutely fantastic. Thankfully this time Bunnahabhain had a wee stand there, and they were offering up some samples of some travel exclusives, which was cool. Probably one of my other highlights is the Jewel of Glasgow Airport, which is the Caledonia bar, which usually has a fairly good selection of drams. Apart from when you get served an Ardbeg in a roasting hot one of these. But still, it's right next to the gate. So as soon as your gate gets called, a couple of minutes later, you're on a plane. One of my favourite things about flying out of Glasgow is the view that you get across the hills in the distance. It is absolutely beautiful. It is a fantastic way to say goodbye to Scotland, and of course say hello on the way back. I wasn't flying back. I wasn't able to get a flight that was at a reasonable time, because I'm not getting up at 9 o'clock in the morning to be on a 10 o'clock flight the day after a whisky festival. So once I landed, short car ride, and I'm in my travel lodge. Now the festival itself isn't huge. This year they had a handful of quite well known exhibitors. Awful lot of English whisky, which I think is very fitting, given that the Summerton Whisky Club is an English whisky business, I guess. But it's held at the Lower Red Lion, which is a beautiful old little pub in St Albans. For those of you that have been to St Albans, it is a beautiful old town. We obviously had the fantastic Glenfarclas that were there, had a fantastic selection, including a 25-year-old, which I've actually never drunk. Had the guys from Starward there, and a number. I didn't get to speak to the other guy that was on the table with them, but from what I understand, they're a distributor. They distribute a wide variety of spirits, including Starward. So I got to try a couple of different variants of the ginger beer cask, which is a review I have got coming up, because that is a very interesting whisky indeed. Probably one of my favourite exhibitors that were there was the English Whisky Company. I'd not really drunk a lot of their kind of core range bottlings, or at least any of their bottlings. I had a bit of their spirit from some other independent bottlers. Honestly, some of the best whiskies that I tried at that festival were the English. Especially some of their single cask and small batch stuff, which I got to try, which was absolutely exceptional. If there's any English whisky company whiskies you think I should try out, let me know down in the comments below. It was also really, really cool to finally meet some more of the guys from Mackmyra. Obviously, I'm a huge fan of Mackmyra whiskey, but and I've spoken to a lot of them by email, but I've never met a lot of them, so I finally got to meet Patrick, which was awesome. Fun fact, in July for my birthday, I'm actually flying over to Sweden. I'm going to spend a couple of days up, Garvel, where the distillery is, and hopefully I'll get a chance to take a camera there and show you some really, really cool stuff about the distillery. So if that interests you, click subscribe down below, and you should expect that video probably late July. Anyway, back to the whiskey. Unfortunately, I tried all of the Mackmyras that were on the stand that day. So in fact, I own all of the Mackmyras that were on the stand that day. So there wasn't a lot that was too exciting there for me, but still fantastic whiskey. Highly recommend you check them out. Another really interesting exhibitor that was there is Henstone. Now, I've done a tasting with Henstone before, or Henston or Henstone, either way. I've done a tasting with them before, and probably one of the highlights of the festival actually was talking to Chris. Now, Chris is the distiller there, and he is absolutely insane. The dude is incredibly knowledgeable about all things whiskey, more specifically all things distillation. They produce a fantastic range of gins, and I've got a couple of their whiskies as well. While they are still currently very young, I think their oldest spirit's like 4 or 5 years old, something like that. That's not really what I'm interested in. I'm really interested to see what they do going forward, how their spirit translates, because what they're producing now is great. And honestly, Chris is a legend. There's a huge amount of passion there. So they're a distillery that I really, really want to keep my eye on. And hopefully, you know, I'll get to go down and visit them, and we can make a couple of videos talking to Chris, because I think he'd be a very interesting person to get on the channel. Of course, Ferkin, an independent bottler that I'm not hugely familiar with either. Tried a few of the drams. There was a couple that really grabbed me. Their Isla cask, which I believe is a Kalila, which was finished in Marsala, which was really nice. But none of them really grabbed me. But I know, because Vin's told me this, I know that they have some really, really good whiskey. So they're someone I really, really want to get into. Now, one of the things I really, really loved about the Summerton Club was that they offered free masterclasses. You didn't have to pay. It was a ballot system. You just put in the ones that you were interested in, and they let you know the day before by email whether you were lucky enough to get selected for these masterclasses. Frustrating for some, but I think it's the fairest way to do it, because they don't charge you to get these masterclasses. There was one with Vin from No Nonsense Whiskey, which unfortunately I didn't get onto, but I did get to try some Wax House bottlings. Wax House are an independent bottler, which I'm not hugely familiar with, though to be honest, I'm just really not that knowledgeable on English whiskey as a whole. Even though I am obviously English, when I moved to Scotland, that's about the time that I got interested in whiskey, and so I've got a bit of a saturated market here, and so I generally just tended to lean towards the Scotch whiskies. But what this festival has shown me is that there is a thriving, growing kind of community of English whiskey. And obviously recently they've had the proposition for the English Whiskey Guild, which is something I've not read into too much yet. But it's essentially what the Scotch Whisky Association are doing for Scotch whiskey. They're taking a similar approach to English whiskey. But anyway, tried a whole bunch of different Wax House whiskies. I couldn't tell you what they are. At this point, I'd been there for nigh on 6 hours. I was having a fantastic time, but I, of course, followed my rules. How to Whisky Festival. I had lots of responsible fun. But yeah, some of the whiskies from Wax House were absolutely stunning. I've got a couple in my basket actually, which I definitely need to pick up. I will share those with you as soon as they arrive. And I did have a fantastic opportunity to try some awesome McMurray single casks in one of their masterclasses. A lot of their private cask selection and stuff like that. McMurray are a fantastic distillery. I really, really am excited to go out and see them in July. But honestly, probably the best thing about this whole festival was getting to meet like-minded people, meet friends that I've made over the last year, some of which I've spoken to nearly every day. Some of them I've formed quite strong relationships with and literally have never met. So that was absolutely incredible. Massive thank you to Vin from No Nonsense Whiskey. To be honest, it's mainly through his community, through his Discord, that I've had such positive experiences and made some genuine friends, you know, that have really helped me get through this last year and stuff, and helped me grow this channel. So cheers, Vin. But also getting to talk to the distilleries themselves, getting to meet people that are incredibly passionate about their whiskies and their brand. And of course, meeting the character that is Dan, who is the founder of Summerton Club, a man who's clearly very, very passionate about what he does, and in my opinion does it very, very well. And finally, I got to try some fantastic whiskies. And before you know it, I was back on the train, and here I am back in Glasgow. Honestly, I had such a fantastic time. I'm going to say one of the best whiskey festival experiences I've ever had, and probably 50% for the whiskey, but 50% for the people. A combination of Vin from No Nonsense Whiskies kind of community focused around his Discord, and the Summerton Club community, people that just genuinely love whiskey and love talking about it. Hopefully I'll get to go again next year and maybe get to bring you along with me. Hopefully get some interviews and stuff while I'm there. But anyway, that's enough from me. Thank you all very much for watching. If you've liked this video, please do drop a like down below, and if you were there, comment and let me know what you thought. And on that note, I don't have a whiskey because it's 10 o'clock in the morning and I've got to drive in a minute, but Slàinte mhath.